Hi.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Getting those Voting Rights Act really did work.
Yeah, racism's gone. I don't know why we ever had that.
Yeah.
Is that not what it's... let's just boil this down. Is that not what this lawsuit is at its base? Is basically no, black people don't, not those votes. That doesn't count.
That's right, because for them, this is what I have to keep saying over and over again. When people talk about their Trump friends and their Trump relatives, what you're saying to me is, I truck with people who want to disenfranchise me.
Yeah. That's right.
Want to disenfranchise.
Okay, can I just say
that who are active, not just want to, who are actively attempting to do it.
Can I get a special Frangela dispensation from my 98-year-old Fox News watching mom? Because she only thinks...
we love your mama.
She thinks Francis is Chinese. So she's a different kind of racist. She's not...
No, we actually were trying to get to the bottom of that the other day. We had like a couple-hour conversation.
We did, Stephanie.
Just the other day, like on Wednesday, we were like, how could that have... Is there any way that you said something?
So we've talked about this before, but I never heard a racist word in my house growing up. And trust me, I had friends where two in particular, whatever. I was a kid. I didn't know, but anyway, when I was a little kid, there were two particular households I can remember where they said the N-word. And I just knew intrinsically it was wrong. And nobody ever said anything like that in my house. It is, but you make an interesting point. I've heard you talk about it on Final Word. I think it is interesting about, at this point, if you say you support Trump. And my mom's just old, and my dad was a Republican, and she thinks, he'd still be a Republican and a Trump supporter. And so, you know what I mean? But I get what you're saying, is that I actually don't think she's racist. Like, she actually thought Frances was a really pretty Chinese lady. And in that sense, I think it's just because she doesn't know any black people.
Right. That's the conclusion we came to.
We came to that conclusion.
We were like, she don't know any black people, and that's as close as she could get. And it's nice. She means it's nice.
Right.
No,
but I'm just saying, But I think there are out and out racists. I'm just saying I never heard a racist word from her, or my dad when I was growing up. But anyway,
you can't subtract that agenda. You know what I mean? Like that agenda is infused throughout this whole program, and trying to convince yourself. One of my oldest dearest friends is friends with somebody who's a Trump supporter, and she keeps trying to act like that's something separate. And I'm like, see, this is the problem. This is what Dr. King meant. It's not the racists that are, of course they're a problem. The real problem is the people in between. The real problem are the people who make it okay. And what you have to understand is when these people are saying they support Trump and they support these lawsuits, they are, if you like Frangela, if you like us, they're actively saying not only that our vote shouldn't count, but my mama's vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Michigan, that's what you're saying, that you're okay with that. And you don't get to pick apart parts of the fascist Nazi agenda that you like. Like, you never hear this. We've said this a lot. You never hear this. You never hear people go, you know what? Genocide is wrong.
Yeah.
Of course, anti-Semitism is wrong. The Nazis were the worst, people ever. Except they really had a really good sense of art and fashion. And that part I liked. You don't hear people say stuff like that because it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of Martin Luther King, did you see noted fembot Kelly Loeffler? How is this that? Remember, we weren't supposed to talk about Amy Coney Barrett's religion, but they're now Raphael Warnock. It's not the right kind of religion, right?
Right.
And she was proudly at Ebenezer Baptist Church where Martin Luther King preached to, when she needed the votes and she was trying to, suck up to black people, right? And now it's like he's this wild-eyed communist, anti-Christian Satan, right?
Yes, because it is okay to paint black and brown people whatever you need, whatever horror you need today, de jour, whatever they need you to be, that's what you will be. Okay? Doesn't matter if he's a man of God. Doesn't matter that he is the pastor of Ebenezer Church.
Well, you know why? Because she's in a different church. She goes to Ebenezer Scrooge Church.
Right. Thank you. That's the thing. But I look at that effort and I go, you are not going to discredit a black preacher. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, on that. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Not with the people who, no.
Yeah.
With your weavified, like, what was her? Could somebody tell her she's not a mermaid? Like the hair situation.
Is it an homage to Daryl Hannah in Splash?
I believe that well, she don't have Daryl's superior bone structure, but like the hair, it's very Janice from the Muppets.
Can I say something? Okay,
Janice.
This is going to be terribly inappropriate, but first of all, I'm watching the Hillary documentary on Hulu. Have I mentioned that I will die mad about what happened to Hillary?
Yeah, we all will.
Okay. She was right about everything, including Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, this.
But okay, Kelly Loeffler ties in. Just stay with me for a minute. Tulsi Gabbard introduced legislation in the House that would bar schools from receiving federal funding if they allow transgender girls and women and non-binary people to compete on sports teams if they play in any of our reindeer games. Or to compete on sports teams consistent with their gender identities. Co-sponsored by, of course, a Republican, was met with immediate outrage as blatantly transphobic. A similar bill was introduced in the Senate earlier this year by Kelly Loeffler, who looks transgender. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, a gay rights activist said, remember when Tulsi Gabbard tried to convince us she was an LGBT ally? We knew she was a liar and a fraud. And so did Hillary Clinton. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Why can't we kick people out of our party? That's my thing. Like, I have not understand how you get to run around and be on the Democratic primary ticket with that agenda.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. We need to change that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's not part of our platform.
She's leaving the House in January, right? I think she
Good.
is.
Yeah.
Good.
So why
Does she need boxes?
And mahalo to you.
Why is she even introducing legislation when she's a lame duck like
Because she's
this?
a homophobe and she always has been. She's transphobic and
God.
Because this is the thing. They can't just leave. They are going to make each one of these days as painful,
Yes.
100 times more painful than every day was before it, as if I didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah.
They're taking a cheese grater to us and pouring salt in it, and they don't care.
Yeah.
They are bad people.
Yeah. And this is, it's not just getting dangerous. It is dangerous. Trump went on a tweet storm Thursday morning, assailing the election results and threatening a forthcoming dangerous moment and blasting Joe Biden, Brian Kemp, etc. He quoted an unknown fan from one of his rallies in Georgia who threatened a future very dangerous moment and claimed that things were going to escalate dramatically. And the president of the United States is retweeting that and inciting violence and encouraging
Let me do
it.
that. Let Francis do that. Do you know we'd be under the jail? Let it happen.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we have 106 representatives who are willing to get behind him. We have 17 state's attorneys who are willing to get behind him. This is a problem, people.
Yeah.
It's sedition. You're absolutely right.
It's sedition.
Yeah. This, and by the way, there are Republican and Democratic officials in danger with death threats because of this lunacy. He tweeted, how does Governor Kemp allow certification of votes without verifying signatures? And despite the recently released tape of ballots being stuffed, his poll numbers have dropped like a rock. He's finished as governor.
No, you're finished.
Okay, none of that's true. Many of his posts, of course, have been flagged as disputed by Twitter. He called Biden an illegitimate president.
Oh, God.
He's not. Well, but first of all, he's not president
Right.
yet. You still are doing nothing but yelling. Like,
Okay. He claimed, did you see this? How did he claim? He claimed 78% of the people feel and know the election was rigged. That poll he drew directly from his ass. Okay. How can you give the election? Someone who lost the election by hundreds of thousands of legal votes.
We did it with you the first time.
How can the country be run by an illegitimate president? Okay, and then he retweeted Sean Hannity, who said Donald Trump won by a landslide and they stole it from him. Okay, it's nonsense, but it is dangerous nonsense because, what's the cue, Frangela? What's the cue? Monday? When the Electoral College certifies and they know it's really over? Like, what's the cue?
No, they won't do that. See, this is the problem. When I was watching all this coverage and they were talking about the signal being set out to these people that now is the time to do their big violent or their big scary, cowardly, violent push. It reminded me of Rwanda and how they had, the signal was, it's the tall trees.
Tall trees.
And I was like, this is where we are. Because of these people, and this is because of coddling it. And we've been saying it. You cannot coddle these kinds of feelings. You cannot go, it's just my racist uncle. He's a little bit. This is what happens. Yeah.
Well, yeah. An attorney for the, Chris Krebs, our national cybersecurity official, who said this was the most secure election in our history. An attorney for Chris Krebs was. Krebs was fired by Trump after he said his client has been targeted by violent threats from a shadow group. You remember Joe DiNovo was the one that said he should be taken out and shot at dawn. Well, this is who you cue is the crazies. The pro-Trump group has called for the assassination of Chris Krebs and other officials they say stole the election. They said they've launched a campaign on a website called Enemies of the People, proposing the assassination of various Republican and Democratic leaders who they falsely claim are complicit in manipulating the 2020 election. And they said if anyone needs to be reminded, the public calls for violence beget violence. This is the clarion call. If blood is spilled, it is on the hands of the president, his campaign, his lawyers, and the silent Republicans standing in the president's shadow. I mean,
yeah. But meanwhile, it's so what's the treasonous group in America considered? Black Lives
Matter.
Yeah.
And we have allowed white supremacists to foment whole groups of this. I mean, huge groups now in the government with QAnon over the last 4 years, and this is where we are.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.